Skip breakfast and lose your biceps. Miss lunch and kiss your gains goodbye. That's what they told you. That's what the fitness industry has been hammering into your head for decades. And if you've ever felt guilty for skipping a meal, or panicked because you trained fasted, or avoided intermittent fasting because you were terrified of losing a muscle you worked so hard to build, I need you to stop. Because everything you think you know about fasting and muscle loss is about to get completely dismantled. Not by opinion, not by some fitness influencer's personal anecdote, but by hard, peer-reviewed, Nobel Prize-level science that most people will never take the time to actually read. So let's fix that right now. Your body is not the fragile, panic-prone machine you've been told it is. It is not sitting there in a constant state of emergency, one missed meal away from cannibalizing your hard-earned muscle tissue. What it actually is a ruthlessly intelligent, staggeringly sophisticated survival system that has been refined and perfected over 2 million years of human evolution. And buried inside that system is a biological superpower, so powerful, so elegant, so mind-bendingly effective that once you understand it, you will never look at food, fasting, or your own body the same way again. Today, we are going to walk through exactly what happens inside your body from the moment you stop eating, hour by hour, phase by phase, and reveal the precise moment, backed by science, when muscle loss actually begins. The answer is going to shock you.
Let's start from the very beginning. The moment your last meal is digested and your body stops receiving incoming fuel, a finely orchestrated sequence of biological events begins. Most people imagine this as an alarm going off, sirens blaring, emergency systems firing, muscles under immediate threat. But that couldn't be further from the truth. What actually happens is closer to a seasoned general calmly walking into a war room, sitting down, and methodically executing a plan that has been rehearsed for thousands of generations. There is no panic. There is no chaos. There is only precision.
For the first 12 hours, your body does something remarkably unremarkable. It simply burns through the glucose already circulating in your bloodstream. Think of this as the loose change in your pocket. It's easy to access. It's already there, and your body uses it first because it requires the least effort to convert into energy. What's fascinating about this phase is that your metabolic rate doesn't drop. It doesn't slow down to conserve energy the way most people assume. It actually increases by somewhere between 3 and 7%. Your body is not shutting down. It is revving up, preparing to locate and mobilize its next fuel source. And your brain, which consumes roughly 120 grams of glucose per day and is the single most energy-hungry organ in your entire body, sends 0 distress signals to your muscles during this phase. 0. It trusts the system completely, because the system has a plan.
Once that circulating glucose runs out, and it will, usually somewhere between 10 and 14 hours in, your body moves to its next layer of defense. Your liver, acting like a biological Fort Knox that most people don't even know they have, opens its vault and begins releasing glycogen. This is stored glucose, emergency reserves that your body has been stockpiling precisely for moments like this one. Your liver holds approximately 100 grams of glycogen, and that reserve is more than sufficient to power your brain and your vital organs for another 12 to 16 hours without touching even a single gram of muscle tissue. Not one. While your liver is executing this release, it is simultaneously sending chemical signals downstream to your fat cells, essentially a heads-up message that says, get ready, because you're next. The body is already thinking 3 steps ahead, and your muscles remain completely untouched, not even on the radar as a potential fuel source. Why? Because your body understands something that most of the fitness industry has completely forgotten. Muscle is survival infrastructure. And you do not tear down survival infrastructure when you have other resources available.
Now, here is where things start to get genuinely extraordinary. Around the 24-hour mark, something happens inside your body that scientists have given a name to: metabolic switching. And if you've never heard of it, buckle in, because this is where the real story begins. Your insulin levels, which have been gradually declining since your last meal, finally drop low enough to trigger a cascade of hormonal changes. Your fat cells, those storage units you've been carrying around, possibly cursing in the mirror, suddenly receive the signal they've been waiting for. They burst open and begin flooding your bloodstream with fatty acids, raw, stored energy that your body has been holding in reserve. And then your liver does something almost alchemical.
It takes those fatty acids and converts them into molecules called ketone bodies. And ketone bodies are not just an alternative fuel. They are, in many ways, a superior one. Think of glucose as regular gasoline. It burns fast, it's volatile, and it leaves you crashing when it runs out. Ketones are something else entirely. Researchers at Johns Hopkins found that ketones produce approximately 28% more cellular energy per unit than glucose. They burn cleaner, they last longer, and your brain, your extraordinarily demanding glucose-addicted brain, absolutely loves them. This is why people who have pushed through the initial discomfort of a fast report something surprising on the other side. Not weakness, not brain fog, but clarity, focus, a kind of mental sharpness that feels almost unfamiliar, because most people have never experienced their brain running on premium fuel before. You are not starving during this phase. You are upgrading.
And your muscles still completely protected. In fact, your body does something remarkable here that almost no one talks about. It releases a surge of human growth hormone, up to 5 times the normal baseline level, specifically and deliberately to protect lean tissue. 5 times. Let that land for a second. The very hormone that bodybuilders pay enormous sums of money to inject synthetically is being produced naturally by your own body during a fast for the express purpose of preserving your muscle. Your body would rather incinerate every last gram of stored fat before it even considers touching muscle tissue. Because in evolutionary terms, muscle is the difference between life and death. Muscle means you can run from a predator. Muscle means you can hunt, carry, fight, climb, and survive. Your body is not going to sacrifice that lightly. It is not going to sacrifice it at all, not while it has any other option available.
Now let's move into territory that most conversations about fasting never reach. What happens when you push past the 48-hour mark? This is where we enter what researchers have started calling the cellular renovation phase. And it is, without exaggeration, one of the most profound biological processes your body is capable of executing. Around 48 to 72 hours into a fast, your body activates a process called autophagy. The word itself comes from the Greek, meaning self-eating. And yes, that sounds alarming. But what it actually describes is one of the most intelligent and beneficial processes in all of human biology. So let's break it down properly.
Imagine every single one of your approximately 37 trillion cells as a tiny, incredibly complex factory. These factories run continuously, every hour of every day, producing proteins, generating energy, repairing damage, and carrying out thousands of biochemical processes simultaneously. And like any factory that runs nonstop, over time, they accumulate waste. Broken machinery, damaged proteins that didn't fold correctly, dysfunctional mitochondria that are producing more oxidative stress than energy, cellular debris that just piles up over time, contributing to inflammation, accelerating aging, and quietly degrading the function of virtually every system in your body. Under normal circumstances, when you're eating regularly and insulin stays elevated, your cells don't have the signal or the resources to deal with this junk. It just keeps accumulating. But during a fast, when insulin drops and the cellular environment shifts, your body flips a switch.
And those same cells that were buried in their own waste transform into hyper-precise recycling plants.
Autophagy hunts down damaged components, disassembles them at the molecular level, and repurposes the raw materials to build new, healthy, functional structures. It is renovation at the cellular level, and the implications of this process are staggering. In 2016, Japanese cell biologist Yoshinori Osumi won the Nobel Prize in Physiology or Medicine specifically for his research into autophagy. His work revealed that this process doesn't just clean out cellular debris, it actively targets and eliminates precancerous cells before they have the chance to become tumors. It dismantles the misfolded proteins directly linked to Alzheimer's disease and other neurodegenerative conditions. It neutralizes the inflammatory molecules that accelerate biological aging at the cellular level. This is not fringe science. This is Nobel Prize-winning, peer-reviewed, replicated research.
Add small pauses between key ideas, and it only activates meaningfully when you stop eating long enough for insulin to fall and autophagy to kick in. Research from the Institute for Aging Research followed 2,400 participants over 15 years and found that those who practiced regular extended fasting showed a 31% reduction in systemic inflammatory markers and significantly lower rates of neurodegenerative disease compared to those who never fasted. Your body, during this phase, is not breaking down. It is performing maintenance that it cannot perform any other way, and your muscles remain completely off limits. The body is simultaneously burning fat, recycling damaged cellular components, flooding the brain with clean ketone fuel, and bathing lean tissue in growth hormone, all while you're simply not eating. The engineering of this is almost incomprehensible.
So, at this point, the obvious question has to be asked. When does the protection end? When does your body actually start consuming muscle? Because clearly, at some point, it must. Nobody is claiming you can fast indefinitely without consequence. The science here is precise, and the answer is almost certainly later than you've been told. A landmark 2021 study published in the Journal of Clinical Investigation followed participants through extended fasts ranging from 7 to 21 days. Researchers used advanced DEXA scanning and muscle biopsy analysis to track with extraordinary precision exactly when measurable muscle protein breakdown began. Their findings were clear. For the vast majority of participants, meaningful muscle breakdown did not begin until somewhere between day 7 and day 10 of fasting. And even then, even at that point, it only occurred in subjects whose body fat percentage had dropped below critical threshold levels.
Add small pauses between key ideas. For men, that threshold sits at roughly 12 to 15% body fat.
Your blood sugar remains stable even while fasting, maintained by gluconeogenesis.
For women, it's approximately 20 to 23%. Here is the biological reason for that.
Right there in the name. Breakfast literally means breaking the fast.
By extending your fasting period, studies show a marked improvement in insulin sensitivity, optimizing how your body processes glucose.
Look at those triglycerides fall. Lowering your levels through fasting provides major cardiovascular heart benefits. Fasting improves it. When it comes to LDL particle size, larger particles are less dangerous than smaller ones. Ho, 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 ho. Fasting leads to gut rest and repair time. It pauses digestion, allowing a crucial repair period where the intestinal lining can finally heal.
It first targets damaged proteins, spent digestive enzymes, aging immune cells, and other expendable protein structures that it was going to recycle anyway. Significant skeletal muscle breakdown, the kind that actually impacts your physique and your performance, only accelerates meaningfully after day 10 to 14, and only in individuals who have genuinely depleted their fat reserves. If you have adequate body fat, that threshold moves even further out. Let that sink in for a moment. The thing you've been afraid of, the reason you've been forcing yourself to eat when you weren't hungry, the reason you've been setting alarms to make sure you never go too long without a protein shake, the thing that has been quietly driving your relationship with food and eating for potentially years, doesn't actually become a real risk until somewhere between 7 and 14 days of continuous fasting. Not skipping breakfast, not a 16-hour intermittent fast.
So what does all of this mean practically? What does the research actually tell us about the optimal window, the zone where you capture maximum biological benefit with zero muscle loss risk? The science converges on a remarkably clear answer. The window between 16 and 72 hours of fasting represents something close to a biological sweet spot. Inside that window, your body has fully completed its metabolic switch to fat burning, ketone production is at its peak, autophagy is running at full capacity cleaning and renovating your cells, growth hormone is elevated and actively protecting lean tissue, and not a single gram of muscle is being used for fuel. Every mechanism is working in your favor simultaneously. And even beyond that window, research consensus strongly supports that fasts of up to 7 days carry minimal muscle loss risk for individuals who are well hydrated and carry adequate body fat. The biology simply does not support the fear that has been built around missing meals. What evolution designed is not a fragile, easily disrupted system that falls apart the moment food is delayed. What it designed is a layered, intelligent, adaptive machine that knows exactly what to do when food is unavailable. Because for the vast majority of human history, food being temporarily unavailable was not the exception, it was the rule. Our ancestors did not eat 3 meals a day plus snacks. They went hours, sometimes days, between successful hunts. And they needed to be sharper, faster, stronger, and more mentally clear during those periods, not weaker. The biology reflects that reality completely. Your body was not built to collapse under a fast. It was built to thrive through one.
Every mechanism we have walked through today, the metabolic switch, the ketone production, the autophagy activation, the growth hormone surge, the multi-layered protection of lean tissue, these are not accidents. They are not bugs in the system. They are deliberate, evolved features of an organism that has survived ice ages, famines, predators, and conditions that would be unimaginable to most people alive today. Your body carries all of that history inside it, all of that intelligence, all of that resilience, and none of it disappears because you skipped breakfast.
So the next time someone looks at your empty plate at breakfast and tells you that you're destroying your muscles, you can smile. Because you know what's actually happening inside you. You know that your body switched to fat burning hours ago. You know that your growth hormone is elevated, protecting every fiber of lean tissue you've built. You know that your cells are running a renovation process that would cost thousands of dollars to approximate with supplements and pharmaceutical interventions. You know that your brain is running cleaner and sharper on ketones than it ever does on its 3rd cup of coffee and a carbohydrate-heavy breakfast. You know the science. And knowing the science means you are no longer operating from fear. You are operating from understanding. And that changes everything.